Jason, if you want to kick us off.
Sure. Well, welcome everyone to another Seminole County Chamber educational event. Thank you all for joining this morning. We are very lucky to have Dr. Tina Calderone, our current chair of the Seminole County School Board and a member of the Board of Trustees at Seminole State, a lifelong educator and fellow Gator, if I could throw that in, that is going to provide some wonderful information for us as we're all navigating the weird world that we find ourselves in. And perhaps none weirder than the school system, which on one day was forced to flip a switch, send everyone home, and teach virtually. I know many of you have had some experiences and are currently having experiences with this and are figuring out just how much and how wonderful teachers are when you send your kids away for the day and how much they're actually getting done. So with that, I'd like to introduce Dan Lopez. He is our chairman of our Issues and Governance Committee to give a little bit more of an intro. Dan?
Good morning, everybody. Very excited about everyone coming on board and joining us. Normally, these types of issues are discussed during our monthly issues and governmental affairs meetings, but we wanted to make sure that we included all of our members, especially for an important topic like this. If you enjoyed today's discussion and you think you might want to get involved with this in the future, please let us know. We meet once a month. We'll probably have a few more of these on a more frequent basis in the immediate future. But yeah, without further ado, let's go ahead and introduce Dr. Tina Calderone.
Thank you, Dan. And Rebecca, we can put the PowerPoint slides up now, I guess. But on behalf of the entire school board here in Seminole County, I just want to say thank you so very much for giving us this opportunity to share with all of you here this morning. And Jason, just a little bit of a correction, I'm no longer chair, but I'm happy to serve as one of the 5 school board members here in Seminole County. Before we get into some details about remote learning, I thought I'd give you some details at a higher level of Seminole County Public Schools so you as business owners can understand the enormity of this, because as a business, we are the largest employer in Seminole County. Next slide, Rebecca. And if you look at our demographics of our students, we're a very diverse population. We also have over 47% of our students on free and reduced lunch, and this is pre-COVID. So think about how schools might look a little bit different when we reopen, hopefully, in the summertime to see the types of students and the needs that they have. Next slide, please. If you look at our employees, as I said earlier, we're the largest employer here in Seminole County with nearly 8,000 full-time employees. And I'm really proud to say that we have worked diligently to make sure that all of our employees are currently employed. We have repurposed some of their job descriptions. For example, our bus drivers, who are phenomenal, each and every day making sure that our students start the day and end the day off on the right foot. Now they're actually out serving meals to our students. They are painting parking lots, helping with the maintenance of our schools. So we are very appreciative of all of our employees. Next slide, please. If you look from the IT standpoint, our department is phenomenal. When we have over 287 miles of fiber cable laid between each of our schools, you can just guess in the back of your mind the complex nature from the technology standpoint. And I have to really give a shout out to everybody within our IT department that they've distributed over 9,400 laptops to our students in need. We want to make sure that we're equitable in delivering a quality education during this time. Next slide, please. And we talked a little bit about our free and reduced lunch, but I know I personally love to eat in our Red Apple dining facilities each and every day that I can. You'll notice those fresh fruits and vegetables every day. We buy organic as much as we can. We were the first school district in the country to actually serve real chicken, hormone-free, with all of our chicken dishes. And we hand make pizza every day with whole wheat crust and fresh tomato sauce and real cheese. So during these times, our Red Apple Dining Service are out there actually serving over 13,000 meals each and every day. There's not a restaurant in America that can probably quote those kind of statistics, so they are doing a great job. Next slide, please. If you or any of your friends and relatives have any children 18 years or younger, feel free to drive through, ride a bike through any of our locations here, and they can pick up free breakfast and lunch. So share that with your coworkers, your neighbors. You don't have to be on free and reduced lunch. Sometimes I know it's a good mental break for you to get out of the house for a few minutes, but you will be met with employees there with gloves and masks and a healthy, nutritious breakfast and lunch Monday through Friday at all of these 23 locations. Next slide, please. One thing that we've found a little disturbing for us from a planning standpoint is, as you can see, we opened up our kindergarten registration on April 7th. Well, you know, as a world, as a country, what we were doing on April 7th. It was probably not our family's #1 priority to remember to register their kindergartners. So if I could ask a help from our chamber friends to get out there to your neighbors, your friends, any of your coworkers, to please ask them to register any incoming kindergartners, because that helps us. We can only hire teachers for next year based on the student population. And right now we're very low in kindergarten registrations, unlike any other year before. So I can't hire teachers to have an empty classroom. So we'd really appreciate your support in getting the word out. Next slide, please. And speaking of getting the word out, we have set up many hotlines here within the school district to answer any kind of questions or opportunities or family. We are still conducting our pre-K classes, our secondary education, our ESOL classes, and for any of our families that don't speak English as their first language, when we have our different Facebook Live meetings within the school district, we always translate them immediately following into Spanish for those families so they can get the same information. Next slide, please. We all know that COVID-19 is very contagious, but I like to look at the positive of all of this, that I know kindness, patience, love, enthusiasm, and a positive attitude is also contagious. So let's hope that, especially during these times, we can catch that from others and be the carrier when we are having all of our millions of WebEx and Zoom meetings. Next slide, please. This is a favorite quote of mine from education, but now more than ever, please understand, this is the mantra that all of our educators in Seminole County Public Schools are living with. Our relationships are more important than the rigor of the lessons. We're trying to practice grace before the grades. We're trying to be patient before pushing new programs out, and practice love with each of our students and coworkers before lessons. So if we can have that as our guiding area, I think that's what we're gonna have more success at the end of this semester, if the families, our teachers, and all of us within the school district can practice these mantras. Next slide, please. And speaking of a community, we do have a phenomenal community. Every Friday, we offer free food to those families in need at our schools, and we have seen, like no other time, our community jumping in and making donations to this. So we wanted to say thank you to the community who's really helping to support our students and families in need. Next slide, please. But believe it or not, I know educators are constantly asking for donations and wanting to have guest speakers in the classroom and things, but we have found this as a time that we can give back to our community as well. As you know, Seminole High School has our Health Academy, and we've actually gone through all of our closets, took out all of our gowns, masks, and gloves, and we donated that to our local hospitals. Next slide, please. And even within our biomechatronics school, which is Markham Woods Middle School, they heard from some local nurses that wearing those masks every day and every shift, it was hurting the back of their ears. So we had our biomechatronics teachers come in and actually create these little gadgets that you see before you, a strap adapter, and on our 3D printers created them, and we're delivering those to our local hospital workers as well to make sure that they stay healthy. Next slide, please. And we've all heard about those N95 masks. Well, guess what? We have N95 masks in our automotive program at Seminole High School. And our teacher remembered that, and he went in and cleared out his cupboards, and we had the opportunity to donate that to our first responders. Next slide, please. And of course, our creative teachers, who to me are some of our local heroes, have created this opportunity into a positive, to teach kindness, to teach gratefulness, to teach thanks. And this is just a little slide to show how our students love to say thank you to all of our special heroes within our community. And I know we love our grocery store employees, we love our hospital employees, our doctors, our nurses, our truck drivers, but these children also want to say thank you to their phenomenal teachers. Next slide, please. This is one of our principals after the first week of distance learning, and they are available to our students like never before. They are reading bedtime stories, they are having parades through neighborhoods, they are sending home certificates to their students, they're hosting Facebook Live homeroom meetings, they're hosting class meetings. But I just wanted to give you pause to think, and Rebecca, you said this earlier when you were introducing us, that this entire, what we call remote learning, was created in 8 days. When we created our Seminole Virtual School, that actually took 3 years to create. So we want to compliment our team that have been out there to create this on a dime. As we say, we're building the airplane as we're flying it, and we really appreciate all the input from everyone. And I have a special treat for everyone on today's call. I'd like to, at this time, introduce Ms. Sarah Hall, who is our 2020 Teacher of the Year, to share from a teacher's perspective how this might be different. And Sarah, if you could share with our listeners here today too, any suggestions you might have if they are working with their own children in their homes at this time. Sarah?
Thank you so much for having me this morning, Dr. Calderone. Thank you for not only your leadership, but the leadership of Seminole County Public Schools. And I appreciate the opportunity to share with you all this morning. So thank you for having me. You know, this has really been an opportunity to showcase what Seminole County Public Schools teachers do best, and that's teach with compassion and grace. Our Commissioner of Education for the state, Commissioner Corcoran, has asked all public school employees across the state to default to compassion and grace, but that's something that Seminole County Public Schools has always been doing. And also, this is an opportunity for teachers to really teach with innovation. As Dr. Calderone showed, the innovative ways that we are now giving back to our community, specifically through COVID-19, giving back to our community and inviting our community into our schools is, again, something we've always done. I think that Seminole County teachers have really risen to the challenge and have been able to connect with our students in new and exciting ways. There has been an elevated caregiver accountability, and I say caregiver and not parent, because I have some students at my school in my classroom, and I currently teach first grade in a Title I school, who are being raised by their grandparents. So you can also imagine the challenge that this new shift in the need for technology for their students to be able to learn from home has created. But I think a lot of our caregivers are very impressed with the independence that our students are able to show them they have with technology, because we incorporate in our classrooms every day. I would love to invite families to connect with your children through social emotional learning. This is something that I'm passionate about and very invested in advocating for. And basically what that means is inviting your children in your life to connect with learning with a wider scope of the world around them and how they connect themselves to that world. So being able to identify emotions and being able to manage them in a healthy way. So one of my favorite things to do is to connect with students in my classroom through my online digital meetings right now through children's literature. So finding a way to have a low pressure point where students are identifying with characters chapters in a book and they're able to identify emotions, that's going to help them be able to express themselves better through this time. And then also, when we come back to school, and I'm looking forward to that day. I miss my babies, but when we come back to school, I would also like to remind everybody, you know, I believe in the power of the chamber and the connection of business and school. Remember that our children and our families, and even our teachers and school-related employees, are dealing with a lot of trauma right now, whether it's financial, health-related. I think we're going to see possibly some shifts in where students are living when this is over, when mortgages catch up and rent catches up. But really creating, by a strong intention here, a safe space for families and children to talk about the trauma they've potentially been going through during this time when we return. And I think more than ever, it's going to be important for our entire community to invest in our students and show that we're there for them. So please, if you haven't already, register to be a dividend and volunteer in our classrooms once we go back. I think the more people we have on campus that are actively investing in our students, I think that'll really help that transition, because we can potentially see some regression, not only academically, but socially, with behavior, a lack of independence, and those kinds of things potentially. But I'm prouder than ever to be a Seminole County Public School teacher. And thank you to the Chamber for investing in our school system. And again, to Dr. Calderone, I know you said that we're kind of flying the plane as we're creating it, but the resources that have been provided to our teachers is extraordinary. So thank you.
Thank you, Sarah, so much. And friends, now you know why I tell you I have the best job in the world. I get to work with superstars like Sarah each and every day that care compassionately about your children, our children, our community. Next slide, please, Rebecca. And this maybe sums up what Sarah just said. Teachers who love teaching teach children to love learning. And there might be facts that we have to impart with our children, but at the end of the day, it has to be done with the wraparound of love and relationships. If a child doesn't feel cared for, they're not going to be paying attention or giving back. So as we've been saying all along, we're asking for families to give us some grace at this time. I kind of liken our teachers like Goldilocks. The first week we came out, we weren't totally sure how many student assignments we should give to a child. Some weeks are too much, some weeks are too little, but at the end of the day, we're trying to deal with our families, our students with respect, kindness, flexibility, and grace. Next slide, please. As Sarah shared, we do have a team of experts within our Educational Support Center to support our teachers' work. And one of those initiatives that we have available to all of our families is Let's Read Seminole. We know you're not able to go to bookstores or the library right now to get reading materials, but we have all of this available free and online to all of our students. So please feel free to take care of that. The next slide, please, also shows a new initiative that we've created for our elementary and middle school students. In case any of you want to have more school than what is given from your individual teachers, we've created Computer Science 2020. Some ideas, next slide please, for your elementary and middle school students to work with to get them computer literate. We know that many businesses out there, even though they might not be an IT company, many of our jobs, whether it be in finance or teaching even, we need to have that computer technology behind us. Next slide, please. I know this is what all of our lives look like today. I know Jason even said this morning when he came on that they're already 3 calls behind. My days are melding together. It's hard to know what day it is because I feel like every hour on the hour we're having either a WebEx or a Zoom meeting. So I want to ensure to our chamber members that your school district is still working and we are still having our meetings each and every day. We've also created a task force like our governor has of reopening Seminole County Public Schools. Sarah alluded to it, but it's going to look different than ever before when we open our schools. We're going to have to pause. We're going to have to work with our children and to assess where they are academically and, more importantly, emotionally. I've really enjoyed the past few days sitting in on our governor's task force meetings with many different professions such as restaurants, hotels. And what I heard loud and clear, which makes us as educators a little bit nervous, as you know, education is funded through our sales tax dollars. And we are seeing that in a typical year, our restaurants are contributing $2.7 billion in sales tax to the state. Our hotels are $1.72 billion. And as you know, we still don't charge for online sales tax in the state of Florida. So we are going to see probably a dip in income within the state, and some tough decisions are going to have to be made in Tallahassee with how to distribute those dollars. So as a chamber, and I know I sit on the issues committee with Dan, maybe some of these are some of the discussions we'll be having as a chamber. Next slide, please. One of my favorite Zoom WebEx meetings that we have, our superintendent every single day has a WebEx meeting with our leadership. We have hundreds join every day. And last week we had the opportunity to invite Sarah, our Teacher of the Year, and this year's Teacher of the Year, Will Lucy from Vito High School, to hear teacher voice. It's very important for us to hear from our community. We have received many emails and phone calls from parents with suggestions on how to make our remote learning better, and we're listening and taking action. This meeting with our teachers, we're hearing what they're saying is what kind of supports they want from us. And we've heard loud and clear they miss their students a lot. The students are very resilient. They're taking on to their lessons. Sometimes it's hard for the parents to navigate some of these software products because they are not used to it, but we have teams there for them to support them. Next slide, please. Another initiative we've started on Tuesdays and Fridays at 12:30 each week. We have lunch and learns with the superintendent and some of our top leaders within our school district. If any of you have high school students or know of high school students, tomorrow at 12:30, our lunch and learn will be based on all of our high school updates. We invite you to join. If unfortunately you might be working at 12:30, we do put that on our YouTube channel so you can view it at a later time. Next slide, please. One of my other favorite meetings that we've been conducting is with all of our senior class presidents. We heard loud and clear they didn't want us to cancel their graduations. But as you know, we couldn't conduct them face-to-face in the May timeframe because of where we are right now. So working collaboratively with our students, they went out and did polls with their fellow students and reported back to Dr. Griffin and our leadership teams that they wanted us to have some sort of graduation for them. So currently we have graduation slated for June 12th at 8:20 p.m. in all of our high school football stadiums. And the reason we chose 8:20 in military time, that's actually 2020. So it was a way that we could honor this year's class. Earlier this week, if any of you were driving by any of our high schools, you probably heard horns honking. At 8:20 p.m., we put all the football lights on for 20 minutes to honor our senior class, and they really enjoyed that. If unfortunately we get rain, as you know, June is our start of our hurricane season, we have backup plans to have our graduations the next morning on June 13th at 8:20 a.m. If we are still unable to join in groups, we also have a backup date of July 17th for our graduation ceremonies. And I know prom's a big thing to many of our students. You probably saw on social media, many of them posting themselves in their prom gowns because they couldn't go to their proms, which were scheduled, many of them, for last weekend. The schools have all come together and they're going to be offering a free dance to all of our senior class the night before their graduation ceremonies for one last chance for our seniors to get together to do that. One other thing that's even larger than just our senior class, but all of our high schools, I've had a lot of questions questions from parents. Are they going to be able to take their AP exams? They've worked very hard all year on these college level courses, and they want to make sure that they get that college credit. I'm happy to say that the College Board has decided that yes, AP exams will go on starting on May 11th through May 22nd, and they will be taken at home on the students' computers. So we're really excited that they are honoring all the hard work that our high schoolers have done for their APs. Next slide, please. I love this quote because we need to bring humor into each of our days and give ourselves permission to be flexible. So what I thought I'd do at this point in time is go through some of our most asked questions that we've received as a school district. So you as a parent or as a coworker of some parents can lessen some of the stress perhaps that you're having. We've heard a lot of times from different parents of what are the instructional expectations for teachers. And as a generic, we are saying to create lessons with the approximate lengths. So for our elementary students, we're hoping our elementary students will work about an hour a day on their ELA lessons, 1 hour a day on their math lessons, and about 30 minutes of science per day for grades 3 through 5. Our secondary students, meaning our middle schools and our high schools, they're probably going to be spending about 20 to 30 minutes per subject per day. And as I said, since we're dealing with grace, it doesn't have to look like a typical school day. You as a family have to choose what works best for you. If you need a total day off for a mind break, go for it. And we will practice our grace and our flexibility with any of the work that is due into our teachers. As far as some of the types of lessons, they look a lot different than when we were face-to-face. Some of the lessons might be class discussions. They might be reads and responding, as Sarah shared. There might be some practice activities. There might be some fluency building activities. And then also some technology-based learning through products such as iReady or Khan Academy, Achieve 300, or Reading Plus. Our teachers are expected to have office hours, a minimum of 4 hours per day. And please understand, many of our teachers are also teaching their children at home, just as you are, as trying to do your work for your corporations and trying to teach your children at home as well. Teachers are taking regular attendance, but it doesn't look like it does in a school day of every single period, every hour of the day. We are compiling that on a weekly basis, and we're really happy to say that our students are showing up and performing for our students. What kind of platforms might our students and parents expect to experience? You might hear some terminology you've never heard before, such as Google Classroom or eCampus, which is our Canvas. But some of our teachers are sticking with sharing assignments and asking for assignments to be turned in with email as well. I've heard comments from parents of why can't we have every single teacher do the exact same thing on the exact same day? Well, there's actually Florida statute that gives teachers flexibility of delivering lessons and giving out school grades as well. So we tried to open up as many platforms that we could and let our teachers use their strengths and their gifts in the platform that best works for their type of class. And how can our students and parents successfully navigate the multiple platforms they have, especially for our secondary students? Think about it. They have 7 periods a day, 7 teachers. They might be delivering instruction 7 different ways. We are coaching our parents to say, create a cheat sheet, list the names of the class, list the modality in which the delivery of instruction is coming through, and do a to-do list of perhaps when their assignments are due each week so you can keep up with that. We are asking our families to talk directly with your teachers if you have questions, and work collaboratively with them so you can best support your students in the best way possible. And we know that this is new, not only for our teachers, but for our parents. So we do have many supports available, with your teacher being your first point of contact, but we also have an academic support tile on our website that any of our families can access 24/7. And it has some good resources for our families talking about what is a Google Classroom, eCampus, WebEx, student emails, and much, much more. We also have contact information for all of our content specialists at all different levels on there, our teaching and learning department. So if you need to dig deeper in, let's say, a math lesson, we do have our content experts available for you as well. So hopefully that will answer some of the questions that might have come up. But if we go to our next slide, I always like to be Pollyanna and positive about everything. This poor puppy wants their children to go back to school, as you can see, but we don't know when that is. But I know whenever it is, I think good has come out of this. We have found a lot of new resources in talking to our teachers. I know I've pushed out there on social media. I'm so thankful for the Central Florida Zoo, who every day has lessons at 2 o'clock for our students to take. I've taken virtual tours of the Louvre, many other places around the world without having to get on an airplane. So we're finding a lot of this that is there to help our students in the future. And we, as I said, Dr. Griffin has put a task force together on how is education going to look differently when we deliver it come fall. And I'm really excited to see the positivity that will come out of this. I also feel that this remote learning will help us. Sarah mentioned a little bit about a typical summer slide for many of our students who aren't perhaps in families that go on family vacations and can partake on reading each and every day. So this technology has allowed us to reach some of those families most in need. And we're now hearing about the COVID slide, but we've always had the summer slide. So we're working collaboratively together to find ways to deliver instruction to those students so they don't realize any of that slide before they leave their puppy dogs at home to come back to our brick and mortar schools. Next slide, please. Please know that we know this is a stressful time for our parents that are trying to work at home and trying to support the teachers in educating their children. But you will have good days, you will have stressful days, and that's okay. Have another cup of coffee or your beverage of your choice, and together we will get through this. Next slide, please. I know Jason opened up this morning with, I'm sure the parents will appreciate their teachers perhaps in a different level, and we hope they do. But as chamber members, we hope that you will join with us collaboratively and sharing your expertise with our classroom students. Use them as recruits for future employees. Take on internships with our students. They'd love to show you all that they have learned. So just to let you know some inside scoop that probably has not been shared with the rest of the community yet, please know that we're here for parents and teachers, but starting next week, our school hours are going to be changing. We're only going to be opening up our schools on Tuesdays and Fridays from 10 until 2. And the reason for that is twofold. Onefold, we feel that we can save the district about $150,000 a week in doing this by lowering our utility cost. And we know, as I said earlier, we might be facing some tough financial times in the future. So we want to be fiscally conservative, and that is our way of getting in front of this. Secondarily, we want to do some really deep cleaning and update with maintenance, and we have divided our maintenance crews into 9 different teams, and we are going room by room, closet by closet, and updating and cleaning and maintaining all of those things. And it's easier for us to do without the few employees that we've had. We've had our schools open each and every day, but we have found that the foot traffic is really low. So we felt that this was a good solution moving forward. We still want to meet every family need that we have to. So we're giving the grace to our administrators to change those hours up if they need to for personalized instruction or personalized service to any individual family. Next slide, please. And as I started and as I'll end, we need to work with grace and flexibility. And I love this quote from Barbara Bush. At the end of your life, you will never regret not having passed one more test, not winning one more verdict, or not closing one more deal. You will, however, regret time not spent with a husband, a child, a friend, or a parent. And maybe we need to say that to each other or ourselves, looking into the mirror each night. We're not used to spending this much time with our spouses or with our children. But when we look back on this time 20 years from now, I like to look at it as a gift. We've been given the gift of time, which normally we haven't. We all have the exact same amount of time given to us each and every day. And let's hope going forward we're making the most of it. So last slide is, I'm so honored to serve with these tremendous leaders, our entire school board. Please know that all 5 of us are here at your service. If there's anything that we can do to help you within this community, we would be honored to do so. So with that, I'll turn it back to you, Rebecca. I didn't know if there were any questions or areas I could help anybody with.
Thank you so much, Tina. I know that I speak for the entire group when we just want to thank you for your time. I know how busy you are, how busy the whole district is. I know Christine joined us for a little while as well, but you sharing with us means a lot. And I know that I saw lots of grins and giggles as we saw some of those slides. And I think that kind of helps on days that we may have our children taped to the floor. But I'm going to turn it over to Jason now to close us out. If anybody had any questions, I didn't see any come through the chat, but you could put them there if you do have any before we close.
Thank you very much, Rebecca. Thank you, Dr. Calderone, for sharing with us. I love that you had in there the part about relationships, grace, patience, and love. Yesterday, we had a meeting where we kind of acknowledged that this could be a very anxious time for families, and we're starting to see some of that bear witness as we get our cases that are coming forward with folks that are frazzled. And so making sure we remember some of those things that help make us a family in the first place will help kind of get us through that. And so thank you for that. I want to encourage everybody. I know Sarah Hall mentioned being a dividend. I've been a dividend on and off for about a decade, and it is certainly eye-opening and wonderful to go to the schools and take a tour. Do one day. Pick your favorite day. We have Constitution Day. We have all sorts of things that are going on in public schools. And I assure you, Dr. Griffin and the entire school board are incredibly accommodating for what it is you want to do. If you're like me and you went to high school here in Seminole County, maybe you go back to the school where you went to high school and you haven't been there in a long time, maybe it's your kid's school, I would encourage you to get involved in that way, because there's so many kids in our community, as fabulous as it is, that don't really have an adult that cares. And it makes such a difference, particularly now, if you're able to give of your time and your talent to help that happen. And so with that, from the chamber perspective, we have Fitness Friday tomorrow. We have our council meeting on Wednesday. We have programming with Christina Clark next Thursday, just like this. Thank you very much. Who will tackle our HR challenges during this time. And on behalf of everybody at the Seminole County Chamber, thank you again, Dr. Calderone. Thanks, Dan Lopez, for leading the Issues Committee. If you're interested, in joining the Issues Committee and you like programming like this, please get in touch with Dan. And as Rebecca mentioned, this is recorded. And so if you haven't had a chance to hear all of it, or you want to pass it on to your friends, this will be up on our YouTube channel shortly. So thanks all very much, and have a great Seminole County day.
Thank you.